This is Just Joya's podcast, and it's brought to you by the Friendship Society. Welcome in. We are finally here. Now, if you're just joining and you're not following on the Friendship Society before we dive in, please do so. But welcome. Now, I want to level set with you. I'm going to be honest. I wanted to anchor this first episode in total vulnerability. And this is totally unfamiliar territory for me. So you have to bear with me. In truth, if I'm not going to peel back the layers of my own onion, why would we even bother? So I penned an open letter, and I want to start the podcast reading you a little bit of the letter. But then I'm going to go into the premise of the podcast. Why do I even care, and why are we here? Okay. I want you to think about the artists who came before you, before me, the legends whose names are on the sides of arenas, whose songs are the soundtrack to half the defining moments of human life in the last 70 years. Do you know how many of them died without owning their masters, without ever seeing a full accounting spreadsheet or book, without understanding until it was far too late that the deal they signed in a moment of hunger and hope had quietly handed everything they built to someone who would outlive the relationship and outlast the loyalty? This is not ancient history. This is last Tuesday. This is happening to someone you follow right now. That's a little bit of my open letter. I'm not going to read all of it. I just wanted to start with it. But let me tell you a story. I am an educator, a multi-hyphenate, and I am a coach and a former major label artist. Back when I was signed to Universal Music Group, we used to have what we call promo tour. Now, promo tour is short for promotional, which essentially means we're going to be out on the road for about 40 days and we will not be getting paid. So while I was on promo tour, I met someone, and this person was a very magical person. You know how you meet somebody and you only have to be around them maybe once or twice, and that's all it takes. You are enamored. This person was that for me because I thought he was a very kind spirit. He was super gentle, which was unfamiliar to me being new to the music industry. It wasn't the archetype that I was quite used to seeing, but he was a very manly, but super sweet person. And the name of that guy is Tony Thompson. And the name of his group is called High Five. When you're out on promo tour, you would see sometimes the same acts on the road. So we would see each other a lot. And because I wore my hair short and blonde at that time, think Eve. I didn't go to a hair salon. I went to the barbershop and then we went back to the hotel so I can get glam done. So we would frequently see each other at the barbershops. The purpose of promo tour is so you can go out, you can go into the markets where your record is playing. You are supposed to create a rapport with tastemakers, radio people, blog people, stop by Apple, stop by Spotify's corporate offices. All of this is so that you can be out creating relationships. Here's the other purpose it serves before we move on. You're also being watched. While you're out on the road, you are being watched by the label. If you're with an independent label, if you're with a production company, somebody somewhere is watching how you show up. Are you on time for sound check? Are you difficult? When you go to venues, does the person who's from the label have to pull your arm to get you there? All of this. And then it reports back to the label. Next time you go on tour, remember that. We would come off tour and I would hear that Tony Thompson was struggling to keep his sobriety. That's not anything unusual. especially in our business. I thought, this guy is such a great guy. Remember, I told you about his presence, mesmerizing. I knew whatever he needs to do, he'll be brilliant. Well, one day I was listening to Hot 97 and I heard that Tony Thompson had passed away. In that moment, and even now today, I still feel the same. My heart cried out because in my mind, there's a small differentiator between me and Tony Thompson. I too felt lonely. I felt misunderstood. But whose responsibility is it? Somehow I think that it's lost upon corporations, upon production companies, upon whomever is benefiting from artists to do development, right? If you watch Billions, it's like Bobby Axelrod had Wendy Rhodes. I find it very odd that in terms of development, we missed the boat after Barry. I'm not just saying that because I'm from Detroit. And because of the way I was affected by Tony Thompson, I used that as my premise to build the Friendship Society. Now, why we're here. When we first began that channel, we started in 2018, no one wanted to hear anything about music business consulting. It was, are you a manager or are you executive? And what is a music business consultant? I decided that we would uncover education that was insider talk. Nobody was talking about ISRC codes. Nobody was telling you the difference between your publishing, your performance, and your mechanical. Nobody was telling you about per diem and touring. Nobody was telling you you can set up your own tour. Nobody was talking to you about that black box royalty. That black box royalty is a real thing. Nobody talked to you about broken metadata, but that has since changed. Now, everybody's talking to you about ISRC codes. Everybody's talking to you about performance and mechanicals. I had to ask myself, is there more that I have to give? And the answer is yes, because there is something in the water in Detroit. There is. You think it's happenstance that it didn't happen after Barry? Do you think it's happenstance that 50 years later, sometimes we talk about Busta Rhymes and all of these other people, but look at Smokey Robinson. How many labels can you name where people are still retaining their publishing and their royalties 40, 50 years later? Not many. How many label owners or executives can you name that put their money into developing artists? Not just, we're going to develop Diana Ross and the Supremes. We're going to develop them into music stars, but we'll go on. That's why we love Diana to this day. It's why we love Smokey to this day. It's why we love the Temptations. The catalog is never going to get old. So say what you want to say. I believe that artist development, brand development, mindset, it is our responsibility. And that's why I'm here. That's why the Friendship Society is here, because I want to continue the conversation. So, the premise of this show is about mindset. It's for us to have conversations about those of us who have untapped talent. But also, this is about uncovering raw genius. I think you have it. I think a lot of people have it. But it just takes somebody who has vision. And it's no knock and it's not a diss. But there are many people in positions of authority, and they may have business acumen, but they may lack vision. And it takes vision to develop an artist. You have to see something. In the realm of D'Angelo, I think a person might say, it's a no-brainer. Is it? Was it? Was it? Or can we give Kedar Massenberg some kudos. Those are the questions that I want us to explore. There's an artist that I know who was signed to a pretty big deal. And this artist, to me, is probably one of the most talented artists that I have heard. The pen game on this artist is immaculate, but also this artist is innately a composer. Now, I'm not the only one who thinks so, because remember, I told you it was a major situation going on around this artist. But because this artist keeps bouncing from major situation to major situation, can you guess what's happening to this artist? Every single time the artist finds a home, do you know what corporate is going to say? How much leverage do you have? Leverage meaning, what are your assets? Now, I don't know about you, but to me, when someone asks me about leverage, if I'm a music recording artist, I know that they're talking about my publishing or my royalties or both. Now, if I find myself a home at Universal, my former label, well, let's cut a piece of that pie off. So I'm going to take myself over to Sony. Let's go to Sony ATV. Let's cut a little more of the pie off. Probably, if I got to Sony, it probably means there's a little bit more to satisfy over there at Universal. But let's just say that there isn't. Let's say I'm all in with Sony. Now, you know what happened. What Sony did, they told Universal, okay, we'll take care of the rest of what she owes you. Now everything lies on the Sony side. But you know, Sony's going to tax me for what they had to pay Universal back. And that's why you see sometimes some artists are in the third album, not the second, still paying back, still trying to recoup what happened on the first. I'd like to ask you and leave you with this. If you're in a situation with a major label or a major independent or a production company, what is your share of ownership? Do you know what you own? When someone says to you, I'm going to get 2 points off of the back end, do you know what that means? When someone says, oh, I'm a producer, I want a point off of the front end and maybe I'll get 1.5 off of the back end. And then I still want my producer fee up front. Do you know what that means? When you join me next time, I want to talk to you about everything that's going on around you. And I want to talk to you about where it's coming from. Now, I realize that not everybody is in a situation with a major label. But as I said, there are independent labels that are considered major indie labels, like a QC. So ponder on that question, and we will be back bi-weekly. Same time, we're here.